You are only one decision away from a totally different life. Just one. It may be big, it may seem simple, but it can change your world. What is your one decision? In this podcast, I will tell stories, give you tools, inspire you, and hopefully give you strength to make that one decision. Remember that inaction is an action, indecision is a decision. Purposeful decisions allow you to have control over the direction you go. Make that one purposeful decision and see where it takes you. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming back to One Decision Podcast with Dr. Connie Swain. Today, I'm here with my dear friend, Mark Airy. Mark and I have known each other for several years and have become good friends. So I was excited to interview him today. But before I get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and share this video and like it. That way we can stay in your feed and you'll know whenever we upload a new video. So before we get started with Mark, let's go to the Lord in prayer and get it started, okay? Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you so much for this time together, Lord, and I thank you for Mark's story. I know it's going to be just a huge inspiration to so many people. We bless you and we thank you. Just speak through us during this time. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I'm so excited. This is fun. We've had a lot of conversations, but none like this, I don't think.
I'm usually asking the questions. So to be on the other side of a podcast, being interviewed is going to be a change.
You do have a podcast. Tell the people about that.
Yeah, so I have a podcast called Wise Weekly. My co-host is Chad Miller, and we just basically get on and kind of cut up and talk about local events mostly. We try and keep it local. But, sometimes we kind of go off the rails. We like to bring people on who are doing good things throughout our community. And that's kind of the focus. It's kind of morphed into, changed over the years, but I sure do enjoy it.
That's awesome. Where can we find it?
You can find me on Facebook at Wise Weekly. I don't think the website's up and running yet, but we are on YouTube.
Okay.
Wise Weekly. The two guys from Wise.
That's it. You and Chad Miller.
Yes.
Good guy. So
very good guy.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to have you on. Number one, I know a lot about your story, but before we get into too much of the one decision, tell us a little bit about your family and where. I know you were out flying with another local pilot yesterday, and so tell us a little bit about your family and your life right now.
So I have, I've always had the best family. I'll go ahead and say that, and it rang true when I met my beautiful wife, Karis. We've been married for a few years now, and we have a son, Lincoln, who's 2, and I have a daughter, Gemma, who's 8, and I have a daughter, Kaylee, who's 18. So we have got them spread out. Lincoln was the bonus
3
baby.
families.
Yeah, that's right. We're a blended family, so that has its challenges, but I've definitely been incredibly blessed.
That's awesome.
I have a great set of in-laws. I always tell people I hit the in-law jackpot.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I have 2 brothers and my mother, who I love dearly.
And she's still living, so that's a blessing.
Yes, it is.
That's a blessing. So Mark also owns an air conditioning company, HVAC company, and they are my company. So tell us a little bit about your company and where it is.
So I'm a second-generation business owner. My father started the company here in Decatur in 1982, and whenever he passed away in 2010, I took that over. And it's an honor to be able to continue the tradition that my dad started. It comes with a lot of weight, though. It truly does. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I've been incredibly blessed. This community has been good to me and my family, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah.
So.
I know a lot of your employees. In fact, last week I saw one of them, a new employee, and he was telling me how you'll constantly reach out and see how they're doing. And that kind of care from the owner just shows it reflects in their service level.
Sure.
I've used your company for years, and I also refer you a lot, and you can just see that kind of care for people in your service level, and it makes a difference.
I think it's a no-brainer because people feel very forgotten about when they go to work for someone. And it's hard, especially when you grow and you have a decent amount of employees. it's hard to maintain a personal relationship, but it's always doable. And I very much believe that you reap what you sow, and you get what you give. And I do have a great set of employees, and I always say, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. So, yeah,
that's good. That's good.
That compliment you just gave is what I love to hear, probably more than anything when it comes to business. So, thank you.
Oh no, I love dealing with you guys.
Yeah.
As a reminder, the whole podcast, One Decision, is really born out of a meme that changed my life.
Okay.
That says you are only one decision away from a totally different life. And I know you've made many decisions, but I want you to share a little bit about growing up, your heritage, your background, and some of the experiences. You shared them with me, but some of the experiences and how I keep thinking, and I won't spill the beans, but I'm just so proud seeing what you've become given your background. So why don't you share a little bit of that?
Yeah, so Connie brings up a great point. I do have a pretty good story to tell when it comes to that. My dad was an immigrant from the Middle East. He was born in Jerusalem, and he came to America in 1969. And he first came over here to go to school. He comes from a family of pilots, so he came over here to go to school to get his pilot's license. And he graduated, finished school, and then he went back overseas. And after some time, he told his family, he said, look, I want to go back to America. That's where my heart's at. And so he did. He set sail back for the States. And he met my mom, and they started a family, and they were living in Fort Worth, and he was the maintenance manager for Ridgely Country Club. And that's how he got to learn air-conditioned heating.
Oh.
They ended up putting him through school, and he got his license, and he had met Mom, and they'd gotten pretty serious, and Mom had some relatives out here in Decatur. It was actually Reuben Pinkerton, and some might know that name.
Oh, I know. Oh, yes. Yes,
Yeah.
Loved Mr. Pinkerton.
Sure. He told my mom, he said, there's only one air-conditioned heat company on this way, and he's part-time right now. So I would say there's some room for a dude to come in and start a company. And that's what set the wheels in motion. And my parents moved to town, and they rented there's a big white house on College, 2-story house, and it had a laundry chute from upstairs to downstairs that us kids used to go through. That's what started it. And, the irony in that is a Middle Eastern man moving to rural Texas, small town Texas, is no easy feat. In the early 80s, at that, it was no easy feat. Times were just different then. I guess you could say people were a little bit more ignorant, and, we've grown over time, whatever you want to call it. No resentment or anything. It is what it is. But the way that my dad was able to navigate that and handle that was probably the biggest life lesson you could ever learn, because he never let it stick. No matter what was said, it never stuck. So if we came home saying something, Dad wouldn't let it stick on us either. So we really just didn't ever let those type of things. It just wasn't a part of hurting us in any way.
Exactly.
Yeah, it didn't hurt us at all. As a matter of fact, it did the opposite. It made us much more resilient.
Yes.
And my dad quickly became good friends with a lot of really good men. And one of the first people he met, who was like a second dad to me, was Dennis Hudson at the gas station down there in the corner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And my dad called him Daddy-O. And so, yeah. But, one of the most amazing things about my dad was how he handled his relationships with people. He, no matter what, whether he was doing business with him or not, he would always make a point to go see him. And that's how he handled his business, and I saw that, and it really stuck with me that relationships are everything. Whether it be in business, life in general, relationships are everything. And for all of his faults in business, that was his strong suit for sure. And I took that in, and that translates over today.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, we have spoken before about how he had developed all these relationships. was a very respected businessman, not just in business, but a very, very respected businessman. And then 9/11 took place.
Yeah.
And you've shared some of those stories. So
yeah, that was crazy. That kind of did come out of nowhere. It was unexpected because, we'd been here for 20 years. We planted roots, and my dad, I think, was pretty confident that those days were probably gone. But after 9/11, some builders that my dad did work for years just immediately turned on a dime. It was bizarre. But, the crazy thing about that is, Connie, like I said earlier, I never knew how big of a problem it was until many years later because Dad wouldn't ever let anything stick.
Yeah.
So we knew some bits and pieces and witnessed it because obviously I worked for my dad, me and my brothers. But I guess it took me 10 years to realize how big of a deal it really was and how many people it truly was. Whether it's good or bad, that's how it was. So.
Yeah. Well, but he showed you how to overcome that.
Yeah. Resilience.
And the resilience, and that is a decision. You have to choose to not let that bitterness stick and destroy your life because it absolutely will.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure having your business now, you've had to use that.
The same, probably not so much the racial thing, but the resilience I gained from, big time, every day.
Yeah.
You can't have thin skin.
No.
Really, anybody, no matter what you do, you can't have thin skin. And another thing that I think a lot of people need to realize is if someone doesn't like you, well, that's their right. It's really none of my business either.
Right.
So, they have the right to that opinion. And
it's all about America.
That's it. That's it. And I've kind of taken the angle with my business. I'm pretty outspoken. And I'm no fool. I know that there would be a select amount of people that just will never do business with me because of it, and I'm okay with that. It doesn't bother me. That's just how it is.
You just keep going and doing it. Setting that example for the next generation, right? For your babies and then on. That's awesome.
It's all about the kids now.
It's all about the kids now. Well, and like you said, your father had a heart attack. So tell me about when you decided to take over the business. Was it just thrust at you, or did you really have a choice? Or
great question. I had always grown up thinking I probably would, but I was living in Australia whenever I'd come home to visit. I was living in Australia. I have an older brother and family, his wife and nieces and nephews that live there. And I came home to visit. I was supposed to be here for 2 or 3 weeks, and I brought 2 or 3 weeks worth of clothes. And I got here, and Dad got some results back from some testing he had done. And the results weren't good. It was basically you have some major blockage, and we really should rush you into surgery. But the doctor says, I'm going on vacation. Here's 11 prescriptions. I'll operate in 2 weeks when I get back.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dad had a heart attack 2 days before the surgery. So I was in a weird position because my brother had stayed home and had been working in the business. At first, I really wasn't sure, but then it became very clear that's what I wanted to do. And so my brother and I tackled it together for about 5 years. And we just weren't on the same page for the goals we wanted. I think my brother was probably very happy just stay in a smaller company and doing what he did. And I really wanted to grow. And it was starting to tear at our relationship, so we made a deal, and I ended up buying him out in 2015. And it was absolutely for the better. We both got what we wanted out of the ordeal anyways. And that's when I really started to grow my company because I didn't have an equal partner telling me, I don't agree with that. And it was his right. But 2015 was probably the funnest year of my career. I tell this to everyone. When you're in that whirlwind and somebody just loaned you money when they probably shouldn't have, and they just took a gamble on you, when your back's up against the wall, you'll probably learn that you perform your best. Yeah.
When you've got that pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a great lesson learned in itself.
So so it sounds like it just kind of it was an organic change. Like, in other words, it just kind of came about and just seemed to be the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it.
Yeah. So did you have any turmoil over making the decision? Oh,
there was lots of turmoil. I mean, with Dad being gone, he was the glue. And I tell people all the time, Dad passed away when I was 29. I didn't grow up till I was 29. I didn't grow up till I lost my dad because he was always there. No matter what, he was there, and I knew that. So when I lost him, I was like, holy crap, he's not there, and you better grow up.
Right.
My younger brother, he grew up, he got his girlfriend pregnant in high school, and he grew up full-grown man by 18.
Right.
And I couldn't relate, I'm a decade older than him.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Not quite that much, but yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, we talked a minute ago about your level of customer service and how you take care of your employees. I do have to tell you, I love the TikToks.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
So for those of you who probably have not seen it, they did a pumpkin spice free on or whatever. A play on the whole pumpkin spice thing. I mean, they do the greatest TikTok videos. They really are great.
Thank you.
But that was a decision to the purposed customer service, the purposed atmosphere, so forth and so on. How did you come to that understanding?
Great question. I think, again, it's because of what I learned from my dad. Customer service is everything, and it became more evident to me after becoming more of a sole owner because I was seeing customer service erode so bad in all industry.
That's true.
And I witnessed firsthand how people reacted to grade A customer service. They react positively every single time. Mm-hmm. And it became very clear to me that's going to be probably the largest key to success.
Yes.
Is customer service. Whether it's from the time you call my office or the time that we're leaving your house, we really strive to give the absolute best customer service possible.
Right.
And I think it's paid dividends.
Yes.
So any young entrepreneurs or business owners listening, customer service is key. And you know this from your business.
Yes.
It's everything.
I know, especially we're in a rural community. It's growing by leaps and bounds. But I have learned, and people moving in from other areas, I personally have found you get so much more. I'd rather pay more for good customer service and that care than paying less.
Absolutely.
I saw something today, and I don't want to get too far into it, but I saw a deal where I had sold a house a few years ago, and they're selling it again. It was a second home, and they're selling it again, and they went with another realtor. And I'm not disparaging another realtor, but I know this particular realtor sells at a discounted rate. And it was like, for a minute, I was like, but I get it. Yeah. I get that clients, it's a lot. It can be a lot of money. Yeah. That being said, I don't harbor any ill will against them. I'm going to continue to stay friends and that sort of thing, because at the end of the day, and you and I both are this way. We're more about and we're more about the relationship because it always comes back. Yeah. It always comes back, and so I see a lot of realtors get their feelings hurt and get offended, and they badmouth previous customers or badmouth people, and you can't be that way because you never know. And they end up coming back. Yeah. They really do. Yeah. So I've
learned that lesson big time in business.
Yeah.
I feel confident, and whenever we lose somebody for going to the next cheapest guy, they'll be back.
Yeah.
And Trish in the office, who's my assistant, my lovely assistant, she just carries that weight on her shoulders, and I think I finally got it to where she's seen them come back now. So she gets it. She believes in it 100%, and that's a good feeling.
It makes a big difference. Yeah. Well, for those out there who may be struggling with making a decision, especially in business or in life, what kind of tips or encouragement can you give?
That's a great question. I would say about 4 years ago, I'd been in business like 2.5, 3 years on my own, and I was having issues with employees, quality of employees. And I took a good hard look at myself because I was the problem. I wasn't motivating my people. I wouldn't say I was tearing them down, but I wasn't building them up. Mm-hmm. And I changed the way that I went about that. I was more encouraging, and I paid more attention to maybe their life outside of work. And I think that's probably a huge turning point in my company. As a matter of fact, I know it is. Mm-hmm. Because over time, when you own a business, you don't know what you don't know.
No.
And you're learning as you go. We all have mentors, but they're not going to teach you everything. So I learned that I needed to take a good hard look at myself and see how I could be better. Because when you own a company, you are the leader. Every single person looks to you.
Right.
From that, I started hiring or making more management. I pulled myself out of the equation to where I wasn't the only guy that people were dealing with.
Oh, that's good.
And I put management into place. And the key to that is when you put someone in place, let them do their job. Don't be all up in their business constantly, because then that shows you don't trust them. Only be involved when they say, hey, we got a problem. If they're not doing anything wrong, let them do their job.
And let them learn.
Let them learn.
Give them
They're
room to
fail.
grow. Yes, give them room to grow. Yeah, that's good.
So I would say to anybody, look at those things.
I always say that what operates at the head filters down.
Right.
So the head makes a huge difference in any and every situation.
Yeah.
And if you have someone of integrity and cares about the customers, cares about the clients, and they show it in their everyday actions, then everybody underneath it are going to reflect that.
That's right.
And if you have someone who is totally disconnected, could care less, and they're sidetracked or whatever, it's going to reflect in everything they do. Yeah. So I think that's really big.
Well, what you just said is valuable, and I guess to add to that advice, if you've got somebody that works for you that is constantly in your mind, a worry, go ahead and cut them loose.
Yeah.
Don't keep them around. If you have cancer in your company or someone you could be a cancer, just cut them loose. Learning to do that was hard. Yeah. Really hard for some reason. Think of, I'm almost there, maybe 90%.
Right. No, yeah. I know it's still hard because you still care about the people.
Of course.
Makes a big difference.
Of course.
One other thing that I've said before, and I don't know why this is coming to mind, but maybe you will. Indecision is a decision. Yeah. Inaction is an action.
Yeah.
And so when you are faced with a decision and you choose to procrastinate, that decision's going to be made for you.
That's right. You just made it. You just made it.
You just made it. And so it's huge, because I know that you've been faced with a lot of, you have to make a decision now.
Right.
So when you're faced with those, do you have any advice? Just do you just kind of pull the trigger, or is there a process you go through? How do you make those decisions?
That's also a really good question. Well, so just recently, I'm losing Sarah, who's Caleb's assistant.
Oh no!
We have had a rough go. Once Sarah leaves in December, I will have lost a third of my staff in 6 months.
Oh my gosh!
Just people moving and things like that. A few of them I fired. It's just it's life. But to that, I was looking for someone to replace Sarah, and man, Trish and I talked. I prayed. I just didn't know which route I wanted to go. If I wanted to hire someone experienced with a resume or bring in somebody green. Sarah was green. She didn't know the business, but she came in and just, God, I love her so much. We're going to miss her. She got it. But we interviewed a lady who had a great, great resume. And after the interview, I just got a great feeling about her that not only will she be able to do what we need, she'll teach us things. There's skills that she possesses from the companies she's worked for that are going to translate over into.
Oh, that's great.
Absolutely. But she wanted a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
So there was that hang up, but I followed my gut and I hired her. I countered offer, and she accepted, but I followed my gut, and I tend to follow my gut. Yeah. Because 9 times out of 10 when I don't, I think about that. And
yes.
Yeah. So.
Leave this earth with no regrets.
That's it. That's all right. Follow your gut.
That's good. One other thing that I told you I wanted to talk about. It may be a little difficult. It may not be. So tomorrow is Election Day, November 8th of 2022. Yeah, big Election Day. And Mark had run for a political position here in Wise County as the chairman of the Republican Party. And I was right there with you in a lot of ways.
There you were.
And Mark did not win the primary, and I know how painful that was. Yeah. But I was so proud of you for running the course.
Thank you.
So looking back on that, is there because one of the things, and you and I, this is big, we've had so many people that were not willing to step up.
Right.
And you stepped up, and it did not end well for you.
Right.
and there's a huge price. It's a huge sacrifice, whether you win or not.
You bet.
It's a huge sacrifice. But, we live in a time where so many people are not willing to take that risk.
Right.
So is there any advice toward that? Like if people feel a draw or even don't, if they feel like they need to do something, speak to that.
That's, that was, that election, I did feel very called to run. Not only from talking with friends in the community and seeing the need, but my heart was there. I felt wholeheartedly that I needed to run. And
yes.
To be quite frank, I was overconfident. Not that I didn't do the work, I did. But I thought I was going to win. I was very confident I was going to win.
You did.
Being born and raised here, people know me, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't have any excuse for not winning the race, but I will say it was the most humbling experience to go through, and coming out on the other side of losing, I'm a much better man for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because, it was this bad. We were at the election party at
yes, I remember.
Street.
Yeah,
I disappeared.
Yeah,
I
know. I
disappeared.
was looking for you.
And that was so out of character for me, but
Yeah.
I went home so humiliated, so defeated. And I'll never, ever forget this moment. I remember laying in bed talking to my wife, and she was trying to just be positive and
encourage
me and say things. I remember telling myself right then and there, and we're talking just a mere 2 or 3 hours after I lost, that I was not going to let this change me. I was going to come out on the other side of this better.
Good.
So literally the next day when I woke up, I remember feeling okay. I wasn't depressed or down. I was at peace with what happened. And I knew there had to be, a reason for it.
Bigger reason, bigger picture.
Had to be. I was very confident of that. But I did disappear for about a month. I stayed kind of out of things and bided my time and really reflected on what had just taken place and why. And of course, I congratulated the guy who won. I'm the one who told him that night he won. And I talked to him and remained friends with him today and support him, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Do you have any regrets?
No, not one.
Good.
Not one.
Good.
I ran that race very clean, and
yes.
I kept my morals about me, and I'm very proud of that.
Good.
No regrets, and I will probably run for office again in the next few years.
Good.
I would say.
Well, and speaking to that, that's also good perspective and advice for making any decision, because you could go after a business that fails. You could, there's a million things that you could do, and you feel like it's the right thing, and you move towards it, and you work hard, and something happens.
You should always feel what you're doing is the right thing.
That's right. Nobody ever goes into anything thinking they're going to fail.
That's right.
But on the other side of it, if it does fall apart, you've got to be able to get back up and not let it keep you from moving forward.
Well, that's so true. And the reason I feel like I handled that loss like I did, because in business, I've failed way more times than I've succeeded. I have 2 companies. I have an air-conditioned heat company and a properties company. I've tried to start like 5 or 6 others.
Oh, wow.
And they're non-existent because they failed. So you're going to fail multiple times before you succeed, probably. You might be that one lucky guy who nails it the first time, but failure's it's part of it.
Yeah.
And there's no question the failure I've had in the past is what got me through that loss like it did.
And helped you.
Yeah.
I was reading in a book, I can't quote it properly, but it was really good. It was something like about, success. A lot of times people don't recognize success because it's wrapped up in hard work and failures.
That's it. It is.
You don't realize that you really are successful because of all the work you put into it and all the failures you've had to go through. So
it's easy to be too hard on yourself and not see the positive, the good you've done.
Yeah.
But you're supposed to be hard on yourself too. So.
Yeah. So is there one decision you can think of that was life-changing for you, or one thing that... married my wife. I was 36 years old and I'd never been married. And I knew somebody was out there, but I started to kind of give up. I was 36. And I would say that decision, marrying my wife, was... it turned my life around in so many good ways, because from that point forward, I have strived every day to
be as good of a person as I can be every day.
Yeah.
So
There's a scripture in the Bible, and I can't remember it. I'm not good at the addresses, I guess. But it talks about that you can tell the character of a man in the countenance of his wife. Yeah. And Karis is absolutely beautiful, but she's very secure, and she's very smart, and she is her own woman, which I think speaks to you as well as a husband, you know, because you do honor her, and you do care for her, and you encourage her in her own right.
Sure.
So
you're right. You nailed it. That's exactly my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah. So,
wow. Well, this has been great.
It has been great.
Yeah.
Being interviewed on this side was it was a pleasure.
Oh, no,
Thank
it's
you
my
so much.
honor, my friend. So we have to go to Catfish O'Harley's again
That's
sometime
right.
soon.
That's where we,
That's
the
our
meeting of the minds.
That's our lunch place, yeah. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today on One Decision. This is my friend Mark Airy, owner of Airy HVAC, HVAC, our Airy and Company, right, in Decatur, Texas. And this Dr. Connie Swain, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.